There's only a few things out there that almost everyone can agree on as being healthy. But did you know that for people with Hashimoto's, excessive exercise can actually overstress your system, lead to an increase in symptoms, and prevent you from losing weight? Hey guys, my name is Dr. Bodle, and today we're going to take a closer look at how exercise affects our body and our immune system, and how we can shift our approach both mentally and physically to achieve better outcomes with our thyroid symptoms and with our weight loss. And if you like learning about natural strategies for Hashimoto's and hypothyroidism, please remember to like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell for new videos every Thursday. Now, when we exercise, there are going to be stressors placed on our muscles, tendons, ligaments, and joints, both physically and metabolically. And when that stress or demand exceeds the capacity of those tissues, they are then stimulated to repair and eventually build back stronger. So what we need to understand is, at its most basic level, exercise has two parts to it: that initial breakdown and then the secondary recovery and growth. But the issue is, for us to experience all the benefits that comes with that recovery period, we have to be able to tolerate and be able to manage the initial stress. And sometimes, for people with chronic thyroid issues, doing that is easier said than done. You've heard me say before that acutely, exercise can be pro-inflammatory. However, long-term, exercise is very anti-inflammatory. And when I've said this, I've been referring to these two different phases. But if we're already dealing with a lot of inflammation, sometimes adding to it, even for a short period of time, isn't something that confers a lot of benefits. And this can be confusing for a lot of people because, as we said at the start of the video, exercise is supposed to be one of those things that is good in all situations and for all people. But let's talk for a bit about my patient Sally. And I think that her story will actually resonate with a lot of you. Now, Sally is someone who has always been involved in athletics, always been very active, but in her 20s, as her thyroid symptoms started to get worse, particularly her fatigue and joint pain, being active was something that she just couldn't participate in. In addition to her fatigue and joint pain, as her thyroid function started to change, she also started gaining weight. But that problem was compounded by the fact that she couldn't move around like she was used to doing. She knew she needed to be more active, but how can you do that when you're exhausted all the time? And even small, trivial, around the house stuff seemed to make the joint pain so much worse. And of course, anytime she went and saw her doctor, they would tell her that her TSH levels were fine, so it wasn't any issue with her thyroid. And they'd actually made a few offhanded remarks that suggested any issues with weight was either due to the fact that she was lazy or she was eating too much and just wasn't being honest about it. But if you've watched my other videos, that kind of philosophy and approach by that doctor is total junk, and they are missing so many things that Sally needed to be supported with and helped with. And by the time she came into my office, we started to develop a strategy to do things differently. We of course made some nutritional changes, got Sally on a more regular sleep schedule, and I recommended for exercise that Sally walk for 15 minutes on a daily basis. Now, with just a few of those changes, after a couple weeks, Sally was feeling better. Her joint pain was much less, and she was able to get through her day without having energy crashes. But in addition to those main symptoms, Sally also wanted to lose weight. And because for so many years, her doctor had told her that the issue was that she was lazy and she wasn't trying hard enough, as she started feeling better, she really didn't want to miss this opportunity and wanted to hold up her end of the bargain. And she told herself she would do whatever is necessary and put in whatever effort was required to make sure that she saw improvements. Unfortunately, after a month or so of feeling better and having her weight come down, albeit slowly, at least consistently, everything ground to a halt. Sally's joint pain went up, her sleep started to get worse, and she gained about 2 to 3 pounds. But because she figured exercise was something that was good for her, she didn't report to me that she had gone from walking every day to adding in 4 high-intensity workout classes that she was participating in at her local gym. This continued while we tried to make modifications to get her back on track. But the real aha moment didn't come until a few weeks later. Sally had had a very busy week at work due to the fact that she needed to get a few different projects done. Because of that, she wasn't able to go to the classes at her gym. And because of the increase in stress, she knew that if she was going to be able to get through that week, she needed to make her sleep a priority. So instead of working out 4 times, she worked out once and got in walking when she could. And you know what happened? Her weight dropped by 5 pounds that week. Now, keep in mind that that 5-pound reduction probably isn't 5 pounds of fat lost. But even so, that sort of change is huge for us and it tells us a lot. When Sally backed off the exercise and really focused on her sleep and recovery, it reduced stress on the system and it allowed her body to manage inflammation better. As soon as she reported this to me, I knew exactly what was going on, and I explained to her, although we want to put that effort in, sometimes we have to be aware of where we're at in the healing process. And even though I thought she had added in the classwork a little bit earlier than she should have, moving forward, we struck a balance where she was going to continue doing her walking, but she could add in 1 or 2 classes per week as long as she tolerated it, and with the understanding that she might need to reduce that frequency if she had a lot of other things going on in her life. Once we made that switch, her symptoms started to fall in line, she was feeling much better overall, and her weight started to come off consistently once again. So what can we learn from Sally's story? That way we can reframe our own approach to Hashimoto's, exercise, and weight loss. And I don't know who said this originally, but I really love the phrase, muscles aren't made in the gym, they're made in recovery. And I think that concept really applies to Hashimoto's and to weight loss. We get so focused on doing things, on investing ourselves in the process. And when things aren't working, we want to push ourselves harder. And I totally get that. And it's 100% understandable. When we're always told that we're not doing enough, we want there to be no question that we're putting in the work. But if you are, you need to stop thinking about Hashimoto's as being the same thing as not trying or as laziness. And instead, think of it more like an injury, because it is. But it's not a physical injury, it's a metabolic injury. If you were training for a 5K and you broke your ankle in the middle of that training, no one would say, oh, you're just being lazy, you need to push through the pain. You've got a broken ankle. You need to recover first. And that's exactly how we should think about it when it comes to Hashimoto's. Sure, you might be used to doing physical activity in a certain way, and yes, we want to eventually get you back there, but it's not helping us to run on the broken ankle. Just like it's not helping us to push to the brink when we have Hashimoto's and when we haven't managed that injury or inflammation. Rehab and recovery is hard, no matter the health challenge. But the problem is, for so many people with thyroid issues, other people can't see the injury. They can see the broken ankle, they can see the cast and the crutches, but they can't see the Hashimoto's. And because of that, there becomes a disconnect. And they don't understand why something that might be easy for them is so hard for you. But what we can't do is allow their perception and their expectations to cause you to doubt your own experience and your own health. So are there times where you're going to have to get outside your comfort zone with exercise? Yeah, definitely. But what you need to remember is that what is hard for you is going to be different than what is hard for someone who doesn't have an ankle injury or who doesn't have a thyroid injury. Now, I've gone into exactly how I like to apply exercise strategies in other videos, and I will link that for you in the cards, but I wanted to give you a little bit of those concepts here as well. The first thing is you need to have a foundation, or you need to have a base for exercise before you start to push yourself. And what that means to me in a clinical setting is you should be able to go out and work out or do a task at home, anything physical. And once you complete that task, you should not notice an increase in symptoms. You shouldn't feel exhausted and like you need to sleep. You shouldn't have a migraine. You shouldn't have a general increase in joint pain. All of those things are suggestive that you've pushed your body too far and we need to dial it back. Although it can sound boring, although it can sound silly, when we're establishing that base, we need to be able to be active and feel fine, feel neutral after that activity. Once we achieve that, then we can start to build. Now, depending on how inflamed you are, how experienced you are with exercise, and where you're at in your healing journey, you might be able to start at a different place than another person. So for some people, they might want to begin with some short walks on a daily basis, just like Sally did. For others, maybe just getting on their feet can be too much. And with those people, I recommend that they get into a pool and either do aerobic activities or some light swimming. You'll be amazed at what can happen when we reduce some of that gravitational load and stress on your joints. Because of the inflamed environment surrounding the tissue, we can be much more sensitive to things that should be trivial. And offloading that in a water environment can allow you to be more active more easily. On the other end of the spectrum, doing things that are more resistance-based are going to be harder for us. And we can modify that, whether we're doing body weight exercises or weighted exercises, and by changing the amount of sets, reps, and the weight that we're lifting. But what we'd like to progress to over time is combining some of that lower intensity cardio, walking, jogging, swimming, with higher intensity resistance training. Both have benefits, and when tolerated appropriately, will help you to achieve your goals. But in general, whether it's someone with Hashimoto's or not, I still feel like people tend to try to do too much. And again, it goes back to that we want to be active, we want to be doing, and we don't always focus on the recovery. So when we eventually get to the point where we want to incorporate resistance training, I have my patients pick 6 different exercises that are all reflective of 6 major muscle groups in the body. That way we can get the most bang for our buck, but we're also working different muscles. And then I have them pick 2 of those exercises, yes, just 2, and I have them do 2 of them on a single day. I then have them work out 3 times per week. That way they can get through all 6 different movements, and that allows them to push as much as they want or pull back as much as they want while allowing as much time as possible for recovery. Those movements include a press, a pull, a overhead press, a overhead pull, squats, and hip hinges. And then you can throw in a little core workout if you'd like. But I'll have my patients pick a very light weight, do 2 to 3 sets, and maybe 5 to 15 reps. Again, we're trying to establish a base where you don't feel symptomatic after the workout. A bit of soreness, maybe, but that's okay as long as it's soreness related to the muscles that were involved in the exercise. And once we feel good about where we're at, we can then change sets, we can change reps, and we can change weight. But doing those 2 exercises on a particular day shouldn't take you any more than 15 minutes, and that is by design. But I hope that you liked today's information and that it gave you a fresh outlook on exercise, with the big take-home point being, more is not necessarily better. And finding that sweet spot with exercise where your body tolerates it and feels better afterwards will lead to better outcomes with your weight loss and with your health overall. If you have any questions, leave them for me in the comments, and feel free to share if you're one of those people who has gotten caught in that trap where when things aren't working, you feel like you have to push yourself more. If you like the video but know that you need more help and would like to work with me one-on-one, either in person or virtually, send me an email at contact@seattlethyroidhelp.com and my staff can help you get set up for a free consultation. During the consultation, we'll discuss your symptoms, your goals, and figure out if we can be a good fit to work together. If I can help you, I will let you know, and if I think that you need to see someone else, I'll let you know. We always want to make sure that you're in the right spot for you. If you'd rather make some changes on your own, you can grab either one of my free downloads, which are listed in the description box, one of which is a list of foods that I recommend for many of my patients with Hashimoto's, and the other is electrolyte recommendations that I use for people who are following a low-carb or ketogenic way of eating. And of course, you can always look into any of the other topics or content that I have available here on my YouTube channel. But that's a wrap for this one. I love you guys. I hope you're doing well. Please remember to like and subscribe if you've been enjoying the content. And if you're looking for more information, you can always follow me on Instagram or Facebook, Links for that are down below. But my name is Dr. Bodle. I hope you guys have an outstanding rest of your week, and I will see you in the next one.